Michael Saylor's Bitcoin warning has just forced these Middle Eastern giants to start printing money to buy Bitcoin. That's right, literally today, hours ago, the Saudi Arabian central bank was just quietly exposed for buying 25,000 shares of MicroStrategy. And in the very same SEC filing, we've also found that the $500 billion sovereign wealth fund that belongs to another Middle Eastern giant, Abu Dhabi, they also just increased their holdings of BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, IBIT, to over $400 million. We have a lot of stuff to unpack today. We want to be having a look at why is the Middle East quietly buying Bitcoin through MicroStrategy and Bitcoin ETFs. And we're also going to be exposing the 15 entities who have just also put Bitcoin in their retirement accounts through also buying MicroStrategy. So I'm going to be doing all of this today with an all-star panel. I've got Craig from Bitcoin Magazine. I've got Opti, who is always optimistic. And I also have our fearless leader, Nico. Guys, I want your first kind of thoughts here on what is happening in the Middle East.
Yeah, man. First of all, dude, the master of masters of masters of hooks, Luke the legend, the GOAT of YouTube. Yeah, man, it's extremely exciting. I mean, this is what Max Kaiser has been coining, the global hash war. It's happening in real time. And it seems like there's been a tremendous amount of interest in the Middle East regarding Bitcoin, not only in acquiring just spot Bitcoin, but also I'm hearing rumors that they're mining Bitcoin as well. I believe the Bitcoin conference, you guys threw a conference in Abu Dhabi, I believe it was called Bitcoin MENA. And there was a lot of essentially just bombshell news that was dropped there. So there's a tremendous amount of interest. And also recently, Trump just made a whole tour of the entire region. I believe he visited Qatar, he visited Saudi Arabia. They literally rolled out multiple, red carpets with camels. It was absolutely crazy. They were like, saber rattling. It was absolutely nuts. And of course, why am I bringing up Trump? Well, we know that Trump's son, who's going to be making an appearance at the Bitcoin conference, Eric Trump, is just announcing that he's launching his own version of a kind of Bitcoin treasury company as well that I believe is going to be publicly listed. So incredibly exciting stuff. So much to unpack. And remember, guys, the Middle East is it has so much money. Qatar is literally the wealthiest country on the face of the planet by GDP. I believe if you break it down, it's like $1.05 million per citizen. Like it's ridiculous, right? Anyways, I'm going to pass it on to Craig. Craig, thank you so much. Craig is programming the Bitcoin conference that's coming up at the end of the month. The entire Simply Bitcoin crew is going to be there. Craig, do you have some insights from what happened in Bitcoin MENA regarding the Middle East and Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take credit for what's happening over there right now with Bitcoin, but we did host our event over there in Abu Dhabi. We had numerous His Highnesses and His Excellencies attend the event. We had Eric Trump come and speak at the event as well. There's some great clips of his Bitcoin understanding. And I really think that we helped kickstart what's happening over there right now. I mean, the content was incredible. We had a ton of finance people from Dubai came over, people from all over the region flew in for this event. And now we're starting to really see the effects of that event on what's happening in the region.
Absolutely. Well, I 100% agree with that. And I mean, it's just a convergence of forces. I mean, you have Elon Musk over there, you have Howard Lutnick involved. Of course, you have Trump himself going in person, taking Air Force One. He's taking interviews on Air Force One where he's literally saying like, yes, I support crypto. I support Bitcoin, while the audio is absolutely terrible. And Opti's having trouble playing the video. Anyways, Opti, we've been covering this for quite a while, man. I'm going to continue echoing what I've been saying for the last months. This has been the best bull market by far in terms of news. It makes Opti's job easier. It makes Luke's job easier. It makes my job easier. But in terms of price action, it's been one of the worst cycles so far. But I'm optimistic for the end of the year. How about you, Opti?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is incredible news that we're hearing. Hold on. we've been speculating and hearing a lot of rumors lately that, you know, some very huge sovereign wealth funds are getting into Bitcoin. We're seeing that there's been increasing interest around Bitcoin in the Middle East. And now we have confirmation of that actually happening. And we all know Bitcoin is a global phenomenon. It doesn't just take one country to really kick off the Bitcoin bull run. But as we're seeing in the last couple of weeks, or rather really since, the beginning of this year, we're seeing that Bitcoin is being taken very seriously by literally the deepest pockets in the world. And now everyone wants some form of Bitcoin exposure. Of course, we want them to eventually end up holding spot Bitcoin. But I think the easiest low-hanging fruit here is people seeing what Michael Saylor is doing with what Strategy has done. And they're like, look, I can get a lot of capital into Strategy. I can kind of get a premium on these Bitcoin buys, and I can get incredible returns. And so I think this is the first step into people kind of falling into the Bitcoin FOMO that we all have felt, because first you kind of dip your toes, get into an acceptable way to get Bitcoin exposure. And then eventually it leads to maybe I just need to buy this Bitcoin thing directly. Maybe I just need to follow what Michael Saylor is doing and not just buying his company stock. Maybe I need to just buy Bitcoin directly. And now we have the confirmation that this is actually happening. So for the last couple of weeks and months, we have been covering basically the rumors and speculation that it's happening. But today we have that confirmation that this is actually happening. So it's no longer just us Bitcoiners kind of being, hype beast out here and being like, look, I'm telling you, it's happening over there. Now we have the news. We have the SEC filings that are showing it is happening. So look, you might want to get some of this Bitcoin because it is catching on. So if you're new to the show, I don't know how much more signal and how many more data points you need to make you go all in on Bitcoin, or at the very least buy some Bitcoin. But as Nika said, the news is getting extremely bullish, and it's making me feel like the price is going to start ripping soon. So, Luke, let's pull up some of this source material here, and let's cover the news story.
Absolutely. So it is not only happening, like you said, Opti, but I think it's bigger than most people think. I think, but before we start looking at the trillions of dollars of pension funds in America who just quietly stuck MicroStrategy on their balance sheet, let's have a look at how much money is in these sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East. So I jumped on over and I asked my best friend, Chat, over here. This is ChatGPT. I asked him how much money is controlled by the sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East. And we can see just the sovereign wealth funds. This isn't central banks. This is just the sovereign wealth funds control $3.5 trillion worth of money. Now, this is huge. This is massive. Don't get me wrong. This is outrageous, the size of these sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East. But it's not just sovereign wealth funds that are buying Bitcoin. It's also central banks in the Middle East. Before we get there, let's fact check myself. So this is some of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world. You guys can see the Norwegian sovereign wealth fund, $1.3 trillion. But the ones we're interested in, have a look at that Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, $993 billion in size. We've got Kuwait, $800 billion. We've also got the Public Investment Fund. That belongs to Saudi Arabia, $700 billion. Like Nico mentioned earlier, Qatar's investment authority, they hold $450 billion. And now some of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the entire world are, I need to be careful with what I say here, but they're going all in on Bitcoin. And I think it's underrated. I don't think enough people are really paying attention to what's happening in the Middle East. And I think we are seeing signs that it's not just happening in the Middle East, it's happening in America. Before we get to America, and before we get to the exact warning that Michael Saylor sent to the Middle East in an interview that literally came out last week, a week before these filings, let's check this out. So this is an official central bank filing from Saudi Arabia. Can you guys see that little name that's highlighted there on their little balance sheet? They're holding 25,000 shares of MicroStrategy. What do you guys think of that? Why MicroStrategy and why not Bitcoin directly? Do we think that this is maybe implying that they might be buying Bitcoin privately and maybe even mining Bitcoin privately as well? Or do you think they just like the stock MicroStrategy for its business intelligence? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, dude, first of all, incredible research. And I mean, I can't say with 100% certainty, but with 99% certainty, just because of the amount of energy that is in Saudi Arabia. Like, I mean, this is the world, I believe the world's largest oil field, right? You have so much, you have so much excess energy, right? Bitcoin loves excess energy. Bitcoin miners love excess energy. Bitcoin miners essentially monetize excess energy. And we already discovered, like, according to Cointelegraph articles from like 2 or 3 years ago, that about 4% of the hash rate is already located in the UAE. And the UAE is a tiny, tiny country. So are you trying to tell me that the neighbor of the UAE, which is like Saudi Arabia, isn't mining Bitcoin themselves? For sure, they're mining Bitcoin. I mean, the small Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan, 1/3 of their GDP is in Bitcoin. They're mining Bitcoin. So I believe that Saudi Arabia 100% is mining Bitcoin. I believe all these Middle Eastern countries that have a lot of energy, they have a lot of oil, they have a lot of natural gas. They're using some of that to mine those precious, precious Satoshis. So, I mean, that's an awesome discovery, Luke. And I mean, look, it seems like the whole world is getting exposure to MicroStrategy. And then you create a situation where essentially you have no choice but to have exposure to Bitcoin. And kind of connecting this with the story that we covered earlier on in the week when we made the announcement that that Coinbase was going to join the S&P 500. Listen, most people own an index fund of the S&P 500, and whether they like it or not, they will have indirect exposure to Bitcoin in some form or fashion. And now you have one of the wealthiest countries on the face of the planet, Saudi Arabia, basically confirming that they are bullish on Bitcoin, because if you buy MicroStrategy, you are bullish on the future of Bitcoin. Opti, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to answer Luke's question at first, I think it's really kind of a few different factors that we're seeing right now. Obviously, I think it's probably a lot easier for people to buy MicroStrategy directly, or Strategy now, the stock, than just going all in on Bitcoin because, of course, of all the different regulatory hurdles. And then further, maybe they don't want to show that they are stacking Bitcoin, as everyone here would like to say, they're OPSEC, a little bit of privacy here. They're like, yeah, we're super bullish on MicroStrategy. And for people out there like the Financial Times that we covered yesterday, maybe they're still trying to wrap their heads around why you would buy MicroStrategy in the first place. But like Luke said, you're pretty much only buying MicroStrategy because you think their Bitcoin strategy is a good thing and it's going to take off. And now it really kind of begs the question here, and we've been kind of asking this question on the show for the last couple of weeks. Can anyone catch up to Michael Saylor or Strategy's Bitcoin holdings? And with the amount of FOMO we're seeing going into just a Strategy stock right now, I don't think anyone's going to be able to compete with Michael Saylor at this point. He's probably going to become the leader of the wealthiest company in the world because of this 500,000 plus Bitcoin that he owns. So it is getting very interesting here. Now, I am not I like the stock kind of guy here, but man, he's killing it over there. He's obviously taking the narrative and he's taking the attention, and it's all leading back to Bitcoin. So hard not to be bullish on what Saylor is doing. And now I think we have that tacit approval from all the biggest institutions, the nation states, central banks. They all see what he's doing with Bitcoin, and they're like, yeah, I want to play this game with you. So I think eventually, of course, all roads lead to Bitcoin. Hopefully they will be buying Bitcoin directly. And I think this is just kind of the writing on the wall where things are going.
But before we pass it on to Luke, I do want to give a shout out to the live stream. We have 1,150 people watching live between YouTube and X. And shout out to the Rumble crowd coming in hot today. 300 people watching live on Rumble. If you guys are enjoying today's show, make sure to smash that like button. Luke, I think you have a very interesting video lined up, don't you?
Yes, I mean, Opti brought it full circle kind of seamlessly there. He did mention Michael Saylor, and I want to play the clip that I think kind of sparked a lot of the FOMO that I think is only going to accelerate in the Middle East. So then this clip right here, it is 8 days old. So again, let's think about the timeline and the chronological order of events of what happened 8 days ago, and then a week later, we get all of this bullish news coming out of the Middle East. Let's play this clip.
So tell me, if you're a sovereign wealth fund, Saudi Arabia, the United Emirates, Kuwait, How would you be diversifying that portfolio? How much Bitcoin would you own?
All of it. Look, to tell you the truth, I think it's kind of an IQ test. It's like if you had $1 billion and you wanted to double it, you would buy the $1 billion of Bitcoin and put out a press release. But if you wanted to make $1 trillion, you would try to buy as much as my company has right now. You go buy $50 billion worth of Bitcoin and just keep buying, and it'll be $1 trillion to you. So you want money, right?
Yeah.
I think that my forecast for Bitcoin is it goes up 29% a year compounded for 21 years, which is going to be 3-4 times better than the next best thing. So yeah, I could tell you, yeah, put 5% of your portfolio in it, but smarter would be to put 150% of your portfolio in it. If you want 10x your money, you buy Bitcoin. If you want 100x your money, you buy Bitcoin with somebody else's money. And if you want 1,000x your money, you use somebody else's money, buy Bitcoin, and you lever it, right? The simplest thing going is borrow money at 3, 4, 5%, invest it at 30 to 60%, keep the difference. My company went from a $600 million enterprise value to $108 billion enterprise value in 4.5 years, and we just did that formula. We're just levering it. So I think as much as you can get is the right answer.
As
Pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, as much as you can get. How much do you guys want to get? I mean, those are some pretty big numbers he was throwing out there. What did he say? $550 billion buy? Isn't that the, I think that's a really interesting number for Michael to throw out there. It's almost as if he knows exactly how much money these massive sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East hold. He said 550 billion. Well, let's have a look. Kuwait owns 800 billion, Abu Dhabi 900 billion, and as we showed you guys, Saudi Arabia 700 billion and Qatar 450 billion dollars. I think that's absolutely fascinating. So that was the clip that came out last week, and then what's happened 8 or 9 days later? Guys, do you think there's any connection there? Do you think the Middle East is listening to the words of the Bitcoin billionaire Michael Saylor himself?
100%. I think not only the Middle East, I think the world is listening. I think the game theory is coming into place. I think you see all these treasury companies that are popping up everywhere, left and right. I can't really talk about it, but let's say South America, there's going to be some treasury companies coming out of there. There's obviously multiple treasury companies in the United States. You had the announcement of Jack Mallers' company with Tether and SoftBank. That's enormous. Tether, the largest stable coin in the world. You had David Bailey's, Bitcoin treasury company, Nakamoto, who was just announced as the lead sponsor at the Bitcoin 2025 conference. You have 3 massive Bitcoin treasury companies. You have the success of MetaPlanet. Everyone's paying attention to this. If you're a sovereign wealth fund, it's exactly what Michael Saylor is saying. It would be stupid just to put 5%. Look at what he was able to accomplish. His company was a zombie company, essentially, for 20 years. This is the ultimate vindication. The dot-com boom, it made him a billionaire, then it went down, and it literally went sideways for 20 years. And the moment he adopted a Bitcoin treasury strategy in 2020, he more than 100x his market cap in 4 years. Of course, you're going to be paying attention if you're a sovereign wealth fund. And if you think this is going to decelerate, you're incredibly naive. I feel extremely bad for that Financial Times journalist who was basically like, look, I don't get this, but don't take my word for it, because I've obviously been a bad judge about this, but it's probably not a good idea to get some, moving forward. No, that is horrific advice from the Fiat Times. You should definitely get as much Bitcoin as possible. I don't know about the leverage thing. I think you got to be responsible. I'm personally 100% Bitcoin. I've been for many, many years now. I know Opti is. I definitely know Luke is. But I want to get Craig's thoughts on this. Craig, Michael Saylor had a phenomenal keynote last year at the Bitcoin conference, where that was the first time he essentially announced the $13 million prediction by 2045. How in the hell is he going to one up that keynote? Is that number going to go up? Is it $13 million by 2045, or is it going to be $50 million? I think that was his bullish case.
Well, I don't have the exact details of the his keynote besides when it's happening, but one thing that I think is interesting is from that last year, if I understand, if I remember correctly, he didn't have all of these different financial instruments that he's created. I actually believe using AI, he created some of these ideas like Strife and the Strike, all these different or Stark or whatever that other product is, he's created all these different financial instruments where he has created a way for different buckets of capital to be buying shares of his company and allowing him to lever up. I'm totally with you on leverage. I took out a Bitcoin backed loan at one point and definitely did not like doing that, even though that is exactly what Saylor recommends. I am definitely 100% in Bitcoin, but I prefer the DCA approach as opposed to levering up. I just know that Saylor is so he's creating a groundbreaking way that is just truly ingenious, and I definitely think that other people are paying attention. Whether or not other people are going to be able to recreate what he's done, he has the first mover advantage, he has the liquidity, and he has the people listening to what he's doing, as evidenced by all of these different interviews, even with people who still clearly don't get it, like the Financial Times.
Absolutely. And then also too, like the kind of favorable terms as well, right? Which is like, you know, it for us, it's a little bit different, right, Craig? Like when we take a Bitcoin backed loan, right, we're getting a little bit higher rates. He's able to essentially leverage his company to essentially get almost like 0%
Zero.
interest debt, right? So
Yeah.
like it's like the only way that Michael Saylor would essentially put himself in jeopardy is if Bitcoin didn't go up in the next 5 years, right? Like that's an obvious play. And then I believe that, you know, the stock is an indication of how people feel about his, you know, he literally changed the name of his company. It's in the name of the company now, his strategy, right? Anyways, back to you, Luke. Luke, I think you're muted, my friend. Luke is muted. Opti.
Yeah, I do want to hit on one thing about Saylor. And if you guys watch that Financial Times video, he literally said it directly. He's like, yeah, I am doing financial engineering with strategy, and there's no way for me to get liquidated over like 5 years. So, yes, maybe we don't have Michael Saylor's financial engineering skills to take out these very cheap, you know, loans. It's sort of like 0% loans for 5 years. That's like a no-brainer when it comes to taking that money and buying Bitcoin. And it just goes to show, like, if you can do it, it's really the easiest move to take. Like, it's the easiest trade ever. You take basically free money that is printed out of nowhere, and then you buy Bitcoin with it and you pay off the difference. Like, if you have those engineering skills, or rather those very favorable loans, it's a total no-brainer. But for most of us people that don't have, you know, $1 billion plus of credit and, you know, have direct lines with banks, you're better off, as Craig said, to just buy Bitcoin directly. So there's that. But Luke did pose the question of, do you think that Abu Dhabi or anyone else in the Middle East is buying Bitcoin? And yes, we do have them now with some confirmation that they are getting into Bitcoin. So let's pull that up, Luke, and hopefully you don't fall out on us again.
Yeah, I was a little bit muted there and stuck in the matrix. But yeah, we do know that the acceleration, so to say, that we're seeing in the Middle East, it's not just Saudi Arabia. It's not just, you know, Qatar. There's lots of other little countries in the Middle East who are also quietly getting into Bitcoin. And obviously we have the rumors as well. Who remembers the rumors that Max Kaiser is always tweeting about? Saudi Arabia and Qatar want to buy 1 million Bitcoin. These are the rumors that circulate around on Twitter. Again, these rumors have been circulating for years now. Is this a little piece of confirmation that maybe there's some truth to the rumors? Who knows if they can get 1 million Bitcoin? I mean, there's only 2.5 million on exchanges, but do you guys think these official announcements that are coming out maybe suggest there could be a sliver of truth there?
I think 100%, and I think the
Wait, pull up
indication.
the source, Luke. Yeah,
But
it's there.
no, but I mean 100%. Like, just connect the dots. It's just common sense. I think, you know, with Trump's trips to the Middle East, Eric Trump had a phenomenal speech at the Bitcoin MENA conference last year. Where he was talking about Bitcoin, and that was literally in Abu Dhabi. Like, you know, and we know that the UAE has about 4% of the global hash rate. Like 100%. These countries are getting exposure to Bitcoin. And the thing is, as soon as the United States government announced its intentions with the strategic Bitcoin reserve, which we still don't know the exact number of, we were supposed to see the audit numbers a couple weeks ago. That still hasn't come out. But Trump has indicated the end of Operation Choke Point 2.0, regulatory clarity. I'm going to be having a conversation with Congressman Begich of Alaska later on today. I'm going to be asking him essentially what is the latest with the Genius Act, the stablecoin bill, and of course the Bitcoin Act, which is a bill that was introduced by Congressman Begich and Senator Lummis of Wyoming, right? So, I mean, you have all this very, very promising, regulations coming into play. And the reason that all of that is important, and I get it from a Bitcoiner's perspective, you're like, Nico, like, what do you mean regulations? What are you talking about, bro? I just stack sats and I put it into self-custody. The reason that all this is important is that it gives regulatory clarity to institutions to accumulate Bitcoin without fear of essentially potential regulatory uncertainty in the future, right? That's the reason that these regulations are so important, right? And that all the indications are pointing to that with this new administration coming in. We know that RFK Jr. owns Bitcoin. We know that the president's kids own Bitcoin. We know the president owns Bitcoin. We know the vice president owns Bitcoin, and they're going to the Middle East. What do you think is happening? Do you think that in one of those conversations, Bitcoin wasn't brought up? I mean, like, come on now. And by the way, speaking of the vice president was just confirmed to be speaking at the Bitcoin conference that's happening in Las Vegas later on this week. Before we continue with the show, I do want to give a shout out to the live stream. 583 live viewers on YouTube. Rumble popping off, 400 live viewers. And X hitting it strong with 1,000 live viewers. Craig, before we move on, do you have any thoughts, man? How did you guys manage to get a sitting vice president at a Bitcoin conference?
Well, I wish I could give you all the inner workings of how it happens, but at this point, we're very well connected. Trump obviously spoke at our event last year, as did RFK. We've had Tulsi Gabbard, and this year we've got a ton of other incredible speakers, including the vice president. I mean, we're not even done announcing some of these big names that I think people are going to be really excited to hear from, but the content is just incredible this year. I mean, even I, as working the event, when I look through the schedule, there's no way that I would easily be able to decide where I should go and what to see. And I think that many of the attendees are going to have the same challenge, because we've got like Lynn Alden doing a keynote. We've got Elizabeth Stark speaking. We've got Paolo coming from Tether. I mean, the vice president. We have so many amazing things happening on our main stage, and that's just one of the stages. We have a ton of different stages. So, I mean, the vice president's coming to the event. I don't think he's ever made a public statement on Bitcoin besides the fact that he has disclosed his ownership of the asset. So I'm personally really interested to hear what he has to say about Bitcoin, and I think it's going to be very interesting.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we got to move on to the next segment. This segment was quite interesting. I like this. Luke starting off with the fire. We got Optimus Fields looking like Johnny Depp, and of course, we got our special guest today, Craig from Bitcoin Magazine. Opti.
I was just saying, Luke, let's pull up the source real quick before we move on to the next segment, because this confirms everything we've been saying.
Oh, wait, so it wasn't a rumor, was it?
Well, we have a rumor, and we are going to make the people stick around for that discussion about the pension funds, the trillions of dollars of pension funds buying Bitcoin and MicroStrategy. But this is a little bit of the speculation. So for those who might have missed it, Max Kaiser expects Qatar's sovereign wealth fund to buy $500 billion of Bitcoin. Again, these are rumors that are circulating on Twitter, but there is a little bit more truth to these rumors. Let's not forget that El Salvador was lucky enough to host the Emir. I think they call him one of the big dogs from Qatar. And we also know that there was a private jet from the leader of Qatar spotted in Madeira on the same day there was that Bitcoin conference happening when Michael Saylor was speaking on the very same day. So again, just speculation, but this whole rumor and speculation mill about the Middle East wanting to buy significant swaths of Bitcoin, it's not just a new Twitter rumor. Again, the Emir of Qatar met with President Bukele way back in late 2023. So again, a 2-year rumor. Maybe we're beginning to see some signs that there could be a little bit more truth to that rumor.
Man, it sure does look like that. Guys, you're going to want to stick around because it's going to be an incredible show. We have so much to unpack today. We have clips of Bo Hines, which is going to be speaking at the Bitcoin conference. And of course, we have more news regarding Eric Trump's American Bitcoin, which is going public. Apparently, that's the name of the company, which the owners include Eric Trump, Donald Trump, which own 98% of this company. That's right. The president of the United States is launching a company, publicly traded company called American Bitcoin. You guys ain't bullish enough. Stick around because we're going to be talking about all that. And by the way, all these people are going to be speaking at the Bitcoin conference. And then, of course, during the culture segment, we're going to take advantage of the fact that we got Craig here in the house joining us to talk more about Bitcoin 2025 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Before we jump into the rest of the show, I do want to give a shout out to our lead sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack, bitcoinwell.com. The reason we recommend it here at Simply Bitcoin is that it's automatic self-custody. What does that mean? That means that when you buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well, as soon as the funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address, which perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos, because after all, self-custody is the revolution. To get started, you put in your email address. It takes 2 to 5 minutes to get signed up. Bada bing, bada boom, you're ready to buy Bitcoin. And by the way, if you head over to bitcoinwell.com/simply, you get 3 tosses into the wishing well. What is the wishing well? The wishing well is essentially like this nice little contest where every single time you win sats, but you have the opportunity to win up to 1 million sats. That's right. So if you go to bitcoinwell.com/simply and all you do is you sign up, you buy a little bit of Bitcoin, you get 3 tosses into the wishing well. Every single toss, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million sats, which is like $1,000 these days. We're going to do it live for you guys right now. Get your Lightning wallets ready. First person to scan the QR code wins today's prize. And today's prize is 381 sats. All right, everybody, stick around. It's going to be an incredible show. We will be right back in just a second.
I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stamp Seed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today.
All right, everybody, scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you directly to the stampseed.com website. Use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off. Don't write down your seed phrase on paper. Stamp it into titanium. Stampseed.com, promo code SIMPLY. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $104,080. Block height, 896,988. Sats per dollar, under 1,000. Love to see it. 961 market cap, 2.07 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 9.16%. Percentage issued, 94.59%. Decline from all-time high, negative 4.7%. Realized monetary inflation, 0.84%. Continuing to take fiat currencies to absolute school. So, again, guys, the most bullish cycle in terms of news. Again, this is Bo Hines. He's part of the administration, and he has some interesting things to say about potential regulation coming up in August.
I remain very optimistic. I think that our colleagues on the Hill on both sides of the aisle understand how important stablecoin legislation is for the American people.
We've seen our volume definitely increase in crypto, and I think it's a combination of both the interest of our customer being present, but also the regulatory clarity that is starting to appear is making people a bit more excited about the space.
What I think you're seeing here at this conference is a recognition of crypto's resilience, that even in the face of in unprecedented, intense political pressure in the United States and all.
So again, the key word for you guys to pay attention to there in that clip is the regulatory clarity. Legacy financial institutions, TradFi, sovereign wealth funds, they're not going to invest into Bitcoin if they believe that there's regulatory uncertainty in the future. That's why it's such a big deal for these types of regulations to go through. I have another clip of Bo Hines, and then we'll all talk about it.
I think that they've come together and pulled this bill to a place to where we actually get to the best outcome. And, you know, our colleagues up on the Hill recognize how important this is to the United States of America and the world more generally. And we're talking about updating very archaic payment rails that have existed for quite some time. We're talking about, you know, creating a world in which payments are much more expeditious with instant settlement times, much more cost effective and much more transparent. You know, this should be extremely nonpartisan in nature. And that's, you know, a lot of the frustration that the American people have, especially, is when issues like this arise, where we're dealing with something that we should be able to come together on and push forward because, you know, it's to the benefit of all Americans. There's really nothing partisan about it. And, you know, my challenge to, you know, my colleagues on the Republican side and the Democratic colleagues over the course of the next couple of days is let's get this thing home. It's time. The traditional financial players are ready for adoption. We're ready to integrate these technologies, and we're ready to revolutionize.
Wow, I wish I would have just cut off most of that clip and just left the last 20 seconds because that was the signal there. That was the most bullish part. Again, once these regulations pass, once there's regulatory certainty, that's when you're going to see even more interest in Bitcoin, more than there already is. And then hopefully that makes Bitcoin again, and we get out of this stablecoin phase that Bitcoin has essentially become. Anyways, before we move on, Opti, what are your thoughts? We'll pass it on to Luke and then Craig.
Yeah, well, you know, my initial knee-jerk reaction here when I hear regulatory clarity is usually not a good thing. We've seen some laws kind of pass on the state level that are kind of being championed as good things, and they kind of are bad things. And even though I'm not against, you know, politicizing and politicking for the states to adopt Bitcoin, etc. You know, Bitcoin is for anyone. I do think from what we're seeing and the general sentiment is that it will be very favorable for Bitcoin. And you guys know my take here on the show. I've been saying it for a long time. Like, as long as they kind of get out of our way and remove the roadblocks, like, Bitcoin's going to be okay. And, you know, the only use case for shitcoins here is basically cover for Bitcoin. So as long as we don't get or see what we saw under the Biden administration, an active attack against Bitcoin and the adoption of Bitcoin, I think it's all going to be very favorable for our industry and, of course, for the Bitcoin network. And from the general sentiment that we're seeing, and I know everyone's like, nothing ever happens meme, so it's like that no one's really like holding their breath to see what happens. I think we are seeing a lot of good things. And as we saw, ever since Trump got elected, there has been a lot of roadblocks that have been removed, especially SAB 121, FASB accounting rule change. And now we're seeing that maybe we'll see, you know, a more light touch approach to Bitcoin. And in the you know, the short term, we have seen some Bitcoin companies move back into America, which I think is very favorable and kind of promising of where we're going. And now that we really have, and I know, you know, Bitcoiners don't like this, but we have basically the full weight of the U.S. government kind of pushing in our directions. I think this is only going to be a good thing. I'm still kind of holding my breath here because I just, like, you know me, I'm not the biggest stablecoin fan here, and it seems like that's what they're pushing. But as long as Bitcoin kind of just gets left out of all this stuff, I think it's going to be a good thing. We saw kind of what's going on in Missouri. You know, they're on the verge of signing a bill to eliminate income taxes, which includes Bitcoin. If we see more of that stuff happening, like, it's game over. It's completely game over for Bitcoin, and I just love to see it.
Absolutely. I do want to give a shout out to the stream before we get Luke's thoughts. 1,800 of you guys watching live between YouTube and X. 300 of you guys watching live on Rumble. Help us break our goal. We're at 169 likes. Help us break 250 likes by the time the show ends. So smash that like button. 550 live viewers on YouTube alone. Luke, what's your take on this, man? Because we have a divided audience. I'll be honest with you. We have some people in the Rumble chat saying, Nico, you're cheering on for regulations. What are you talking about? You forgot the ethos. What happened, dude? This is about number go up. This is about, you know, the separation of money and state. What I will say is that Bitcoin is a Trojan horse. Remember, guys, Alex Godstein wrote an amazing article for Bitcoin Magazine. It's called Bitcoin is the Trojan Horse for Freedom. And essentially, he makes the case that number go up technology and freedom go up technology are inextricably linked. You cannot disconnect the two. So once you let the Trojan horse of Bitcoin go in the door because you want to benefit from number go up, you are inevitably letting in the freedom go up, the freedom mind virus, which is spreading worldwide. Luke, what's your take on all this?
Freedom go up will accelerate forever. That is an up and to the right trend. But I think it's really interesting. Opti said something that caught my attention there. Yes, the politicians are doing nothing publicly. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of chitter chatter. There's a lot of I love Bitcoin, support me and vote for me. I get all of that. I get it all. But what I think is really interesting is all of this public chitter chatter and all of this embracement of Bitcoin in the public arena. I think it's creating something really interesting in the private arena. I pulled up a little chart here and it's showing you guys that 900,000 Bitcoin have left the exchanges over the past 2.5 years. So I think that all of this public chitter chatter and all of this public embracement of Bitcoin that I think we've seen change since the year 2020. Again, before 2020, there was no billionaires, there was no pension funds, there were no nation states led by the Bitcoin Chad Bukele making Bitcoin legal tender. There were no billionaires like Michael Saylor, there was no public, and who knows how many private companies were buying Bitcoin pre-2020, but post-2020, all of this has changed. And I think the post-2020 environment that we're in right now is, I think, going to create something that most people aren't ready for. We've already seen the supply suffocation accelerate. Again, I just showed you guys 900,000 Bitcoin. It's just gone. It's gone off the exchanges in the past 2.5 years. And I think a lot of this is accelerating because of the public embracement of Bitcoin by these politicians who, yes, a lot of them are just talking cheap. They're saying nice things about Bitcoin. They're saying, hey, Bitcoiners, there's potentially tens of millions of you guys in America. I'm pro-Bitcoin. Send me your money in the form of donations and, you know, vote for me. But I think what's really interesting is I think it's creating a little bit of a silent supply suffocation. And if this trend continues, I think we're finally going to see the real value of Bitcoin. And I think all of this politicking that has emerged post-2020, I think it's finally, in the data, I think it's slowly but surely confirming that people are finally realizing what Bitcoin is. It's money, savings that you hold for thousands of years. And I think the data clearly shows pre-2020, people didn't understand what Bitcoin was. You could see very clearly the number of Bitcoin on exchanges only grew from 2009 to 2020. It grew from 0 to 3 million. People were like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to mine this internet money. I'm going to send it to an exchange and I'm going to sell it for a Lambo, right? all of a sudden, the data is clearly confirming something's changed. No longer are the masses sending Bitcoin to exchanges. Yes, there are people selling Bitcoin, don't get me wrong. But en masse, the net trend is supply suffocation. The net trend is for 5 years, we've seen over 1 million Bitcoin leave the exchanges. So I think finally, en masse, on net, the world is coming to realize what Bitcoin is, and that is sound money that should be taken off the exchanges into your own self-custody. Because again, we don't get freedom go up unless we actually hold the damn things in our own self-custody. That is the beautiful thing about Bitcoin. Number go up is great, but again, we only get freedom go up if we're actually holding our own damn cheese.
Amen to that. Opti air horns, please. Air horns. Anyways, Craig, today's show is perfectly suited for you, my friend, because literally every single topic that we're covering on every single block of today's Simply Bitcoin Live. By the way, smash the like button. We're about to break 2,000 likes between YouTube and X, and the Rumble live stream is popping off once again. Craig, what are your thoughts, man? All these people are speaking at the Bitcoin conference. Could you give us a little bit? Could you give us a little bit of a snippet, a little bit of a, behind the curtain type of sneak peek, Craig? Please, we're begging you, Craig.
Sure thing. Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I land more where Opti does with the regulations. Like for me, Bitcoin is cypherpunk money, and at the same time, we just had 4 years where our entire industry was basically being shut down in any way possible. So it was a prime example of why Bitcoin is useful. But until we reach hyper Bitcoinization, there still needs to be work and interaction with the fiat system, including banks. And Operation Choke Point 2.0 was limiting our industry from being able to have access to bank accounts. So I definitely think that no matter what, Bitcoin is going to succeed. And then to Luke's point, Bitcoin as money, holding your own keys is the most important part for having the freedom go up. Because just holding shares of MicroStrategy is still, even though it is great to have in your portfolio, it's still just another stock. So it's not the same as having that self-custody Bitcoin. So in terms of content at the Bitcoin conference, we have something for everybody because we have an entire stage, the open source stage, dedicated to the cypherpunk movement, how Bitcoin is operating on a technical level, and how best to interact with Bitcoin in that way, the ways that Bitcoin could potentially change or have upgrades, and then as well as an enterprise stage where we are talking about Bitcoin treasury companies. There's an entire content track day on the 27th that is Bitcoin for corporations. All of these Bitcoin treasury companies that are coming out and announcing their new strategies for having the Bitcoin treasury will be engaged on content on that first day. And then the other 2 days are focused as well on enterprise content, proof of reserves, taking out lending products with Bitcoin, taxes and Bitcoin, things like that. We also have a mining stage, which is completely dedicated to mining content. I mean, going back to the UAE and mining in the UAE, we have content about mining with at home and like with Bitaxes and things like that. We have content about pools and their payout structures, things like that. And then things like on the energy side as well. So we've got a ton of content there. And then on the main stage, we have an entire day dedicated to regulations and some stablecoin content as well. I'm also not a huge stablecoin fan. However, that is a huge piece of the conversation this year in general, because we have seen the Genius Act being debated and at least for now, struggling on the floor of Congress. But there is regulation in the works for stablecoins, and especially when it comes to private stablecoins. So I think that is something that is extremely relevant and something that we will be hosting at least on one of the days at the conference, as well as we have started to see some stablecoins now being issued on Bitcoin with Taproot assets. So I think that will be some interesting content that we have on the main stage. But we also have just some politicians and regulators who are coming to, now that the Trump administration is more interested in engaging with our industry, we will have these people come and speak to our attendees, and really it will be both a give and take, because they'll be speaking to our audience, but they will be at the event. I mean, we have people coming from all over the world. So I mean, a lot of the names that you might recognize on the list are like Bo Hines, David Sachs, JD Vance, Eric and Don Jr. Those are some people that you might recognize. Senator Lummis, of course. However, we also have some people that are coming and speaking that are not necessarily household names in our country. So we have like basically the David Sachs of Pakistan is coming, and he'll be speaking. His name is Bilal. We also have the mayor of Panama City in Panama, who's going to be coming and joining Max and Stacy. Actually, they've been hanging out this week, and they've been posting a lot together because they are creating an alliance of sorts to try to bridge the gap between El Salvador and Panama, the country of Panama, which is pretty rare for that region of having. Bukele has been very open with his Bitcoin strategy and wanting other countries in the region to adopt it. So those are just a couple of the internationally known people that are coming to speak. And then we also have tons of executives and C-suite and people that are in the industry who are coming and will be engaged with our audience. I mean, Brian Johnson is coming. I think his talk is going to be really interesting. It's lower your time preference, try not to die, or something along those lines. So yeah, I mean, there's something for everybody. I know sometimes our event can get some flack with the content, but really there's something for everybody. And like, you could go and park at one stage. If you're interested in mining content, just come sit at the mining stage. If you're a dev and you want to learn about the technical sides of Bitcoin, just come and sit at the open source stage. It's going to be an awesome area, and there's definitely something for everyone to do. Me personally, if I was just attending the event, I probably wouldn't be at the main stage. But that said, there's so many huge names that I think this year I would have a hard time missing it.
It's going to be absolutely incredible, guys. You definitely don't want to miss the biggest Bitcoin celebration on earth. On the verge of breaking 2,000 live viewers, guys, smash the like button. We're going to hit the news segment. We're going to be talking about the president's son and the president launching American Bitcoin. We have the details regarding that. I mean, how could you not feel bullish right now? I feel like the price hasn't caught up to the news yet. I feel like the price, like it knows about the news, but it hasn't realized that the news is happening. When that happens, man, Luke, Opti, and my job is going to be 10 times easier.
Well, hey, Nico, Bitcoin can't read just like Nico can't read. So, it's symbiotic.
All right, everybody, we'll be right back in just a second. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Casa. Casa makes self-custody easy and secure. As a Bitcoiner, I care about holding my own private keys, but multi-sig can sometimes get tricky. Casa nails it with a multi-key security. So even if one key gets lost or stolen, your Bitcoin stays safe. And you don't give up custody, meaning no one could access your Bitcoin but you. No seed phrase anxiety, no single point of failure. I've been telling my friends and family about Casa for years. Their UX and UI on their app is by far the best in the industry. Inheritance planning is built in, and they even offer Casa for Business if you're thinking about a Bitcoin treasury. Hit up casa.io today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 10% off Casa Standard or Casa Premium. Head over to casa.io.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, CoinKite. If you take your Bitcoin security seriously, you'll need the best Bitcoin hardware wallet on the market to take self-custody. That's where Cold Card comes in. The Cold Card Q is the most advanced Bitcoin signing device ever made. It's got a full keyboard, larger screen, and NFC support, making air-gap signing easier than ever. It's built for power users who want the ultimate security without sacrificing usability. And if you're looking for a battle-tested, uncompromising cold storage, the Cold Card MK4 is your go-to with PSBT signing, an industrial-grade secure element, and USB-C. It's the perfect blend of security and convenience. Both devices are, of course, 100% Bitcoin only, open source, and built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. Secure your Bitcoin the right way with the Cold Card Q and the MK4. Head over to coldcard.com today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 5% off anything on the store.
All right, everybody, we are back, and this is what everyone calls the Bitcoin Johnny Depp, Optimus Fields in the flesh, in showing the cold card. Guys, go check it out. The Cold Card Q is the best Bitcoin hardware wallet on the market, and you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 5% off, not Opti, but the Cold Card. You can get a Cold Card Q or an MK4. Again, scan the QR code or check the link in the video/podcast description. Anyways, let's get to today's news. Opti looking fresh today. Eric Trump's American Bitcoin going public in latest crypto move by president's family. Goes on to say the Bitcoin mining company backed by President Donald Trump's son, Eric Trump, and Donald Trump Jr. is set to go public on the NASDAQ through an all-stock merger with Gryphon Digital Mining. Shares of Gryphon were up more than 300% Monday. The combined company, American Bitcoin, will trade under the ticker symbol ABTC, with the transaction expected to close as early as the third quarter of 2025. Existing stockholders of American Bitcoin, including the president's two eldest sons, will own about 98% of the new entity. It is the latest high-profile move from the Trump's family growing crypto empire, which already includes the controversial Trump meme coin that is offering a private dinner with the president to the top holders of the coin. That's hilarious. Eric Trump, who is co-founder and chief strategy officer of the mining firm, framed the move as part of a broader strategy to cement the country's leadership in the global Bitcoin mining race. Quote, every single sophisticated country is using their excess power to mine Bitcoin, which completely echoes what Luke, Opti, and myself and Craig were saying in the beginning of the show regarding the Middle East. I'm going to say this again. Every single sophisticated country is using their excess power to mine Bitcoin. That's the signal, that one quote. And again, guys, no one is better than their incentives. I think that's American HODL who coined that phrase. And it comes down to this, right? The president's children, the vice president who's speaking at the Bitcoin conference, they all own Bitcoin. What do you think they want? Where do you think they want the price to go? I'm just going to ask you guys that. Where do you think they want the price to go? And do you guys remember RFK Jr. Last year? I believe it was at the Nick Carter fight where he was like getting interviewed. He admitted, he said, look, I put basically all my assets into Bitcoin. RFK Jr. is sitting on the cabinet. This is RFK, our friends over at the Bitcoin conference. You guys managed to get him to speak last year. I think his speech was so bullish. It was interesting having RFK speak before Trump, because what RFK was promising was nuts. It was like, we're going to buy 5 million, but it was like absolutely crazy. So Craig, is Eric speaking at the conference this year? Is he not?
He is. He will be speaking, definitely. His company, American Bitcoin, they have a panel, and then still navigating some of the other content that I'm hopeful that they will be participating on. But Eric is definitely speaking.
Awesome. Luke, do you have any thoughts?
My thoughts are that if you had told me 5 years ago the president of America would be this bullish on Bitcoin, I firstly wouldn't have believed you. I said in 2025, the president of America would be openly saying, we want every single Bitcoin to be mined, made, and minted in America. That's what Donald Trump is openly saying. If you'd have told me that would have been happening in 2025, I honestly would have thought that you were crazy. Again, in 2020, I was of the opinion that a lot of these cycles would continue. I genuinely thought, okay, the buyer in Bitcoin hasn't changed. Retail money. Retail is still the only game in town. So yeah, I actually believed in a lot of these stupid models like the power law model before I got famous, and all of these models of diminishing returns and all of this stuff. And now it's like you kind of said earlier, Nico, the price is not reflecting the fundamentals. We actually have the president of America saying some of the most bullish things that anybody has ever said about Bitcoin. So I think price is a massive lagging indicator. And when it actually does snap back and catch up to the fundamentals, most people, I think, are probably going to do what our good friend who we mentioned earlier in the show, Dave Portnoy, did. They're going to let us hand their Bitcoin. They're not going to be holding as much Bitcoin as they should, because I don't think enough people are bullish enough. I think too many people are staring at stupid lines on charts thinking, oh, I'm a genius. I'm going to sell my Bitcoin at 180K because some expert told me to do it. And I didn't think about anything critically myself. I just looked at lines on a chart that I think are using flawed data, and I'm going to get wrecked. So I just think the news of the president's getting into Bitcoin, the news of the entire Trump family getting into Bitcoin, the news of the right-hand man of the president, Mr. what's his name, Bo Hines, saying what he's saying about Bitcoin, saying they want to acquire as much Bitcoin as possible. All of these things are just signs that, look, the fundamentals are here, the price is here. The price is going to catch up to fundamentals in a pretty rapid way. And I don't think most people have prepared themselves for how that gap is crossed. I think one of the few people who does understand this is the man by the name of Samson Mow.
Yeah, 100%. He's talking about the Omega candles, the infamous Omega candles, 100K in one day, right? I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, if you guys were around, in the, 2 cycles ago or so, right? It was unbelievable to see Bitcoin reach $10,000 per coin. You could not believe it, right? So kind of put yourself, you have to remember the past if you want to see what could potentially happen in the future, right? I think we're going to be looking back 10 years from now, and we're going to be kicking ourselves, and we're going to say, look, Michael Saylor said it. We should have leveraged ourselves 150% and bought Bitcoin, because goddamn, this thing's going to go up. Anyways, Bitcoin Johnny Depp, what are your thoughts?
Oh man, well, you guys are cracking me up. First, the Sailor 150x leverage or 150% leverage is.
By the way, that's not financial advice.
Yeah,
that was just a joke.
Yeah, that's totally trolling. The second one was Let His Hands Portnoy, just killing it today. I think what Luke said is probably the biggest thing that I am taking away from this news, and it really goes into what Bo Hines has been saying about this whole regulatory clarity stuff. It's look, we haven't covered it on the show, but there has been an article, CNN has been covering this, there's a whole crypto conflict of interest thing going on. And I know that Speaker Mike Johnson also is trying to push through a bill of congressmen not being able to trade stocks while they're in office. So there is this growing narrative around what is going on here. But I think the point remains the same. If Trump's kids are going into Bitcoin mining and they're actively saying we want to mine as much Bitcoin as possible, we want to make this the biggest public mining company in the world, basically, or at least, in America, I think that is kind of growing trend, or growing this idea that we're probably going to be seeing a more laissez-faire policy around Bitcoin. And I am totally for this. I am 100% for this. Just keep your hands off of Bitcoin and we're going to win. And someone in the chat said something interesting. And Craig brought it up, this whole Genius Act stablecoin regulation stuff. I think that it's kind of for better or worse, the way that Bitcoin does get out of the door is they kind of pack in all the stablecoin stuff with Bitcoin. And again, if this happens, we're going to be seeing a whole new paradigm here in America in regards to how countries look at Bitcoin. And that's only going to kind of ripple down to every other country. And maybe we find ourselves in a point where America is kind of heading towards more of a Dubai kind of, scenario where they're just no cap gains, just bring the business here. We're going to win. And again, I am all for this. So I am kind of starting to get hopeful with all these news. Of course, you know me, I'm not the most political guy here. I've only recently followed politics because they landed on our front doorstep. But hey, I'm all for some free market capitalism being unleashed in America. And man, if that means, what we're seeing in Missouri, I don't even know if that's possible. Let Bitcoin run. Just let Bitcoin cook, bro. Come on. Let's just see this get out of the door, and we're just gonna win so hard. Maybe we are entering into the golden age of we are winning so hard you're gonna get tired of winning.
Well, it doesn't feel like it, bro. The price. Come on, Bitcoin. You guys know the meme where the guy's the little stick figure guy's poking the the Bitcoin with the stick, and then all of a sudden it goes wabam. Yeah, we're waiting for that wabam. Anyways, guys, we still got a lot of content for you guys. I want to give a shout out to the stream. 2,000 live viewers between YouTube and X, 570 on YouTube alone, 388 live viewers on Rumble. If you guys are enjoying today's show, smash that like button. We're already at 223 likes. Help us break 275 likes by the time the show ends. Anyways, guys, we're going to hit the culture. We will be right back in just a second.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? Unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally not only have an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledn is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to hodl while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you today. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 0.25% off their first loan by using the link in the video/podcast description. What are you waiting for? Head over to ledn.io today.
All right, everybody, we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by Craig. Craig is programming the Bitcoin 2025 conference. Again, this is the largest Bitcoin conference in the world year after year. Every single year, I always ask. I asked McShane last year. I'm going to ask you this year, Craig. You guys just keep one-upping yourselves, but you guys keep setting the bar so ridiculously high. Like, it just starts to become impossible. So last year, you got a presidential candidate, you got an ex-president, President Trump, who it became president, basically promised the entire crowd. I was in there. I think I was on the 4th or 5th row. I literally I forgot. It was like Germano or something was like, do you want to be on the desk or do you want to see Trump? I was like, I'm gonna go see Trump. And yeah, it was crazy. Just like the energy in that room. And then him getting elected, it was surreal. It was surreal to see that, knowing that this was the end of Operation Choke Point 2.0. This is a very different year. This is a victory year, essentially. This is, okay, we put in the effort. We got out to vote. We got Ross Ulbricht freed. We got SAB 121 repealed. We got Operation Choke Point 2.0 terminated. What's going to happen now? Because you promised us Bitcoin was going to go to the moon, and Bitcoin is not at the moon right now. So anyways, I do want to go through the speaker list. Of course, we have President J.D. Vance, again, confirmed Bitcoin holder. We have Ross Ulbricht, freedom fighter, freed after a completely unjust sentencing. They tried to make an example out of him. Essentially, I never forget the first Bitcoin conference I spoke at. Literally, I was thrust into the fire, put on the main stage. And I remember my talk was right after they played a video or an audio recording from Ross in prison. And it was so, I remember it like all my fears of speaking in front of people just went away because I remembered why we are here, what we're fighting for. 4 years later, Ross got freed. Ain't absolutely incredible, and it's a testament to the power of our movement. Now, what's really interesting, Craig, too, is that usually Michael Saylor is all the way he's the main speaker, but this year, of course, it's JD Vance, Vice President of the United States, Ross Ulbricht, and of course, we have heavy hitters as well: Senator Cynthia Lummis, David Sachs, Bo Hines, Vlad Tenev, he's the chairman and CEO of Robinhood. We have Adam Back, Jack Mallers, Paulo, I believe Satoshi's speaking. So yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a crazy conference. So yeah, I mean, Craig, you have some insights into some of these speakers.
Yeah, I mean, when I pulled up this list, I was shocked that I hadn't even mentioned Ross yet, because Ross is really one of our main headliners, and he's closing out the entire event. So definitely make sure, if you're planning to come, make sure you're staying until the very, very end, because he is our closer. And I cannot even begin to imagine how emotional it will be, because he's one of the main reasons like we're here and we're doing what we're doing. We have Chun Wing, who is the founder of F2 Pool, who is also the first Bitcoiner in space, who will be attending and speaking. I think we'll get to hear a little bit about his backstory. The ever beloved Peter Schiff is coming, and he's going to be sitting down with Trace Mayer, who Trace is one of the people that got me interested in Bitcoin, and has kind of fallen out of the limelight for a little bit because of his dabbling with other coins. But really, he is a huge Bitcoin maxi and has been in the space for so long, and is just an incredible voice. So I'm excited to hear how they interact about gold. We have Casey, the founder of Ordinals. That should be funny to hear his take, especially based on his panels, based on his comment last year about spit in my mouth, daddy, talking about the government and how all the Bitcoiners are interested in the government regulation. So I'm curious to hear his talk. We also have the author of Confessions of an Economic Hitman, John Perkins. He'll be speaking. So, I mean, we have so many incredible speakers. We're actually pushing 500 total speakers this year. So there is definitely something for everyone. We've got so many incredible people here. Tons like Vlad, the CEO of Robinhood. There's Nico, I see. I mean, the content this year is just top notch. And it really is everything from the technical to the mining to the CEOs to the politicians. You ask how we top it every year. I have no idea how we manage to do it, but every year we somehow manage to make this even more exciting, even more incredible with the names that we get, the people that we bring on. And our job is, we see our job as multifaceted, because we want to get the hardcore Bitcoin maxis on the stage. That's definitely one thing we want to do. We also want to get the people that are somewhat tangential to the Bitcoin industry, but who we know are Bitcoiners in waiting, and we invite them to be on stage. Brian Johnson is a prime example of this. He has made some posts about, I guess, crypto as more broadly, but we think that by getting him to come to our event, he can really see the value of Bitcoin specifically, and we can help push him over the edge to really become more of a Bitcoiner. So our event has something for everybody, and one of my favorite things is making sure that pleb voices are heard. So, typically it's a little bit harder to get pleb voices on the main stage with some of these other people they're competing against, but we try to elevate as many voices from as many walks of life as possible. We have content about Bitcoin merchants and people that sell their products for Bitcoin. We have content from a formerly incarcerated individual who has now uses Bitcoin to educate people that are in prison and how Bitcoin can help make them better people. We have content about reusing heat from Bitcoin mining and how you can actually be more energy efficient in that way. So, I mean, in addition to all of the current administration and people that have political views, and especially potentially right-leaning, we like to have all sorts of the spectrum when it comes to Bitcoin. And so really there is something for everybody at the event, and I just can't recommend coming enough. It's going to be a blast. I mean, this doesn't even get into all the side events that are happening, all the after parties, all the other things that are going on during the day, during the night. Like, it's going to be an incredible time, and I am psyched to see you guys there.
Absolutely. The side events are going to be absolutely incredible. Some of them are, there's the golf tournament. There's a Rakamoto. I'm announcing this live. Opti's about to find out. PubKey and TFTC are teaming up, and the meme review is making a comeback. Opti and I will be doing a live meme review on a Las Vegas stage. So the meme review is coming back, but you guys are going to have to see it in person in Las Vegas. Again, get your tickets because the prices do go up as time goes by. Use promo code SIMPLY, 10% off. What other side events? Of course, you have Whale Night, which is going to be great. I think it's going to be a little bit more formal this year, is it not? So really, really cool stuff, guys. Las Vegas, incredible location to have this amazing Bitcoin celebration. I call it the Bitcoin Super Bowl week because that's really what it is. You're going to have the greatest minds all in one city, all in one place. Could you imagine all that Bitcoin that's in that location? Like, holy cow, man. That's
literally zero, because we all lost it in voting accident.
We all lost it. I don't have any Bitcoin. Zero Bitcoin.
Anyways, it's all very securely locked up, too.
Anyways, I do want to thank our special guest today, Craig from Bitcoin Magazine, BTC Inc., for joining us today. It's going to be an incredibly special conference in Las Vegas, Nevada. Again, you guys could use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off. All the topics that we covered today regarding Eric Trump, regarding the beginning of the show, regarding Bo Hines, all those people are going to be at the Bitcoin conference. So if you want to see them in the flesh, if you want to see a live meme review, if you want it back, we hear you in the chat. You have to go to Las Vegas, okay? This is what happens. And use promo code SIMPLY. So anyways, I'm your host, Nico. Our co-host today, we got Luke Mikic in the house, best Bitcoin YouTuber in the game. And of course, my legendary co-host, Optimus Fields, the Bitcoin Johnny Depp. We're Simply Bitcoin. If you guys enjoyed the show, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you guys on Monday. Peace out, everybody.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.